make sure it's kosher. Lean on me like Bill Withers until you smell the roses.
What's happening, fam? L.A.R. movement still moving. Subscribe or die trying. You see the thumbnail. Why boxing has gotten soft. So for years, I used to do a boxing podcast called the Cheap Seats Boxing Show. And we stopped right around the time of the pandemic. Not because of the pandemic or during the pandemic, because fighters weren't fighting. And this leads me to the topic. This is why boxing has gotten soft. So over the years, people kept trying to make money like Floyd Mayweather, but they wanted to do it like we're gonna make a build up for a mega fight like Mayweather versus Pacquiao. But in that interim, they weren't fighting good fights. They were just fighting people. I make this much amount of money. I'm gonna keep doing this. So in turn, the fighting, the views and the viewership started going down because there was no challenges. You kept having the top fighters not fighting each other. And at first, I remember me and my co-host Angelo, we was talking about, the PBC. And I was like, he was saying like how the PBC is going to stop these fighters from fighting each other. And my opinion was, I was like, no, they're not. But the PBC can't make these fighters fight each other because I don't think they want to fight each other. So what I saw was a lot of ducking. And a lot of people kept using business as a reason. Oh, man, it's the business. You know what I'm saying? This does this and that does that. And I don't want to fight this person. And then what you saw was maybe about from now 3 to 5 year stretch where all the top fighters are fighting everybody else except the other top fighters in their weight class. And, and I'm not saying some of these fighters were fighting dangerous fights. It was just you didn't know who they were fighting. So that is a difference. But other folks was just skate. Skate. And it made no sense. And it still doesn't make any sense to have people in the same weight class who don't fight each other for years. It doesn't make sense. And they blame, Floyd Mayweather for it. But even for the stretch of Canelo, I like Canelo as a fighter. I think he's a sharp, smart fighter. But I also think he ducks. I also think he's a master ducker because he used weight as a way to beat fighters. Either he outweighed them or he drained them. You know what I'm saying? And then what winds up happening is, when somebody says, okay, this is the next upcoming challenge for you, Canelo, he goes into another weight class. And then when he finds another one, somebody's coming and goes into another weight class. So what ultimately wound up happening was the fight game just started taking losses because you had no excuses to not make these big fights at 30, 35, 40, 47, 54, 60, 68. You really had no excuses for most of those classes. And what you see is guys constantly pulling up, I don't, you know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? It's got to be right. They on this side of the street. I'm on that side of the street. And then fighters are leaving their respective companies to make fights happen. And the fights still don't necessarily happen. Now, using Spence and Crawford, for example, they want to fight each other and they're going to fight each other. And I remember when Mayweather and Pacquiao was supposed to fight but didn't, and Mayweather wound up fighting Ortiz. And after that fight, Pacquiao won and he got knocked out by Juan Manuel Marquez. Then he started winning again, and then they had the fight. So I get stuff like that can happen. Like you can put off a fight, but a lot of these guys are not putting off fights. They're just not fighting. That's all they're doing. They're not fighting. And using Floyd Mayweather as an example, if you notice, he's fighting more exhibition fights in a year than your championship fighters are fighting in a year. That says a lot to me. The fighters have gotten soft. The fighters, Angelo, my co-host used to tell me, these guys don't want to lose, they owe. And I was like, nah, but he was right. He was right. A lot of these guys are undefeated and they don't want to fight another undefeated person unless, they feel like it comes off as if the talent level is staggering. They don't want to have to fight. Now, shout out to Devin Haney and Shakur Stevenson, because they might wind up actually fighting, and they're friends, and they're both undefeated, and they're both champions. They're both top-notch fighters. Same thing with Crawford and Spence. But everybody else is playing. You know what I'm saying? You got Benavidez on the outs. You got the Charlo brothers on the outs. You got Andre jumping into the mix, to the PBC to fight some of these fighters. You get what I'm saying? It becomes a you got Tank fighting but not fighting. You get what I'm saying? He has a belt but not necessarily a belt. Like the biggest fight in the last 5 years was actually the Wilder Fury trilogy. Really, you know. So, but all the rest of these fighters, y'all just ducking them. Like I knew something was up when Danny Garcia beat. It's not Lomachenko. I was about to say that Matisse. When Danny Garcia beat Lucas Matisse and then he won, and it was a great fight, he kind of just took off. You know what I'm saying? He just kind of like, I ain't getting in these kind of fights no more. He fought some fights, but he really wasn't trying to take on that type of thing because he was on the brink of stardom. He was really on the brink of stardom. And when I saw that, I saw the other fighters playing around like that. I saw Adrian Broner be on the brink of stardom, but become more of a character than a fighter. You get what I'm saying? Now I see Tank be on the brink of stardom, but not really wanting to fight the fighters. And I know people, he was with Floyd. You got to remember. I remember when Floyd got him his first championship fight, he was dissing Floyd because he was like, he trying to set me up for a loss. And it's like, he told you he's going to get you a fight for a belt in a year and a half, and he got it. And then now he's trying to set you up for a loss. You got to beat the champ, dog. Like, you're not going to get an easy fight. The champion is not an easy fight. So a lot of this stuff becomes interesting. Like, I got to give credit to Errol Spence. Errol Spence said, I'm going to find the champion. I'm going to go take the belt wherever it's at. And he was like, when they had the Olympics, and he had crazy numbers during the Olympics, and then his numbers kept going up and people was like, he's a star. He kept fighting. That car accident slowed him down, but he was willing to put himself in the fire. Terrence Crawford was always on the outs because people acted like they wanted that smoke with him, but they didn't. That's why, in my opinion, Sean Porter is like, even though he retired, Sean Porter was like the truest fighter of that time period in his division, because he didn't care who you was. If he was the best, he was gonna get in the ring with you. And he gave everybody problems. Yeah, he lost to Crawford. Yeah, he lost to Spence. But if it wasn't for that knockdown, that probably would have been a draw. But he's immense talent. But he's what people want to see, a fighter who's not afraid to fight. But what you see now is a lot of fighters afraid to fight. So in my opinion, boxing got soft because of that. And I forgot Inoue. Like, I look Inoue, love him. Look, the monster is a monster. He is not playing. And that's the other thing. Boxing got soft because we didn't look at the lower weight classes with Chocolatito, Juan Francisco Estrada. We didn't look at the smaller weight class. They were banging, and they still banging. We need to pay attention to those guys because they're fighting their butts off. Whether they got people who want to fight them or not. But that's just my opinion. Tell me what you think. Like, share, subscribe, or die trying. Catch y'all on the next one. Peace.